Welcome to the What I Meant to Say podcast. I'm your host, Wendy Jones, founder of Be Better Media and a mom of 4, passionate about human connection. I was so excited to connect with AVP athlete, cancer survivor, and 2011 Big West Player of the Year, Jen Keddy. She made some time to chat with me this week before competing at the Manhattan Beach Open. You won't want to miss this conversation about overcoming obstacles with passion, humor, and unrelenting fight, and how that has helped her level up not just her athletic career, but her health, her business, and her life. So I am just so excited. This has been such a long time coming because we've been going back and forth on Instagram and then finally maybe some texting.
Yeah.
And we finally met today when I picked you up at Starbucks.
Yeah.
I don't think we met before.
But it's funny when you meet people in person and you're like, oh, we're like besties. Because social media, like that's the cool thing about social media. It's like you can connect with people.
It's the thing I love about social media because there's so many things that like can give you a headache. But I have made some real friends like through this journey across the country.
Yes.
Who love volleyball, who love health, who, something in their story strikes me and I go, oh, I want to grab onto that and find out more. I'm just curious. Yeah. And that's what led me to you listening to an AVP, which it was a couple years ago. And there was the commentator was talking about your story. Mm-hmm. So it caught my ear because you went to Cal Poly, which is my alma mater.
Right.
And that was the first thing I heard. And then they continued to talk about you. And I was like, I got to meet this girl. So let's start there and tell me a little bit about, I know you have your family, you have a huge family. Tell me a little bit about where you came from.
Okay, so was born in Sacramento. It's a little confusing. I always tell people this. I have 7 siblings. My family is very blended. It's a little confusing. The only way to explain it is that Dad love you, but he had a whole nother family on the side. And so I have 2 half siblings that are my dad and stepmoms, and they're both older than me and my brother. Okay. So anyway, it's very blended. Of course, sounds terrible, right? But, as you get older, you understand obviously this worked out, everything works out. Best case scenario, I have these beautiful siblings. I have this, this family that's just huge. And when I was little, I was like, oh my gosh, 2 Christmases, totally. So ideal for a kid. So that was it. And, my siblings, my sister and my brother, we would travel, as much as we could to go see my dad and that other side of the family. It's just. And from top to bottom, do you know how many years are between? Do that between 7? So I have my youngest sister is about to be 23. Okay. My oldest, I have this funny thing where I think she's permanently 35.
Oh, bless you!
I know, but a little
she appreciates that.
And since she was actually 35, I was like, you've got to be 23, and she's like, no, 35. And it's like. So honestly, I have no idea how old she is. Yeah. It's just in my head. Yeah. She's 35. Not sure. She, I think, is in her 40s. Okay. And I'm like, you couldn't possibly be in your 40s. Yeah. I have no idea what the age difference is. But my youngest I'm 30. Okay. My youngest sister is 8 years. Okay. 8 years from me. Well,
from what I do know about your story, you've garnered a lot of wisdom in 30 years. You've been through some things. So you grew up in Montana.
Yes.
And then when did you start playing volleyball?
I want to say 7th grade, middle school. I always played soccer my whole life, and my parents were like, let's put you in volleyball because you're tall. Yeah. So played volleyball and just kind of loved it. Yeah. I think I picked it up pretty quickly too. Just from playing soccer my whole life, it was like, oh, this is easy. I'm not tripping over a soccer ball. Cool. Yeah. So just started playing volleyball when I was in 7th grade, and then freshman year of high school, soccer and volleyball were the same season, and my parents were like, hey, you need to pick a sport that your height benefits you. So basically they were telling me I'm playing volleyball, and I was like, I'm going to be a cheerleader, actually, because I was so mad that they were like, you have to play volleyball. So I go to sign up for the cheerleading table, at orientation, and the girls just looked at me like I was insane. And then I was like, that's not for me, I don't think. Yeah. So,
Like a mean girl experience, kind of?
It wasn't like a mean girl experience, but of course, Like, I'm projecting my insecurities onto them. And so I'm like, oh, they think I'm too tall to be here. Yep. They are judging me. I did not cheerlead.
Okay. So at this point, I assume you like to be tall. But
yes.
How tall were you then at your freshman year?
Freshman year, I believe I was 6'1".
Okay.
So, and I grew quite a bit from 8th grade to freshman year. And then, yeah, obviously played volleyball. I loved volleyball. I was just like that rebellious kid that was like, they're not going to tell me what to do. Yeah. I'm going to be a cheerleader.
I love it.
I love it.
You got to learn. Sometimes some things you got to learn on your own, you know? And as parents, like, we do need to know that. Like, you can put it out there, but a lot of things are, you know,
they're not
life experience.
You got to figure it out.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Okay, so volleyball all through high school.
Yep.
And then that led you to
college.
Yeah. Where'd you go?
I went to Cal Poly, San Luis Obispo.
Yes, okay, I already said that.
I never thought, it's funny, like I started playing volleyball and I didn't think about like, oh, you can actually go to school for this. Like if you know, like this is a possibility for you. I never thought about that. Like it's just funny.
Did you play club?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I played club.
And even still maintain that mentality.
I just like didn't.
I'm just having fun.
Yeah, I just like didn't think about it. But I started getting recruited when I was a freshman. Like the University of Montana started recruiting me. And I was just like, do through the whole process. My parents pretty much picked the school that I was going to go to because I was just like, I would get a letter in the mail and I'd be like, here. It was so, I think about it and I'm like, I have so much regret. Not regret. Yeah. I just learned, you know, if I have children in the future, hey, this is a real opportunity for you. Yeah. So, like, let's talk about this.
Do you think there was any beauty to the point that you weren't so wrapped up in it though?
Yes. Like it was fun for me. It wasn't a job.
Yeah. And
it was just, I want to say like stress-free, you know, like I obviously was talking to schools and stuff, but it was never something that was like, oh my gosh, this is the goal. I have to do this in order to get here. Like I never, I was just, but also I was skating by, you know?
I know. It's such a fine line. Yeah. It's such a fine line. And there's little things you can take from it and say, like, I do it a little bit differently.
Right.
But, and obviously, like, some of the advice I've given my kids is, like, you just never want to leave something out on the table.
Right.
Like, you want to know that you did everything to put yourself in the position.
Yes.
And then if you get there and you don't want to do it, like, I don't have an expectation of a career or a sport or you're going to be this. If you're working hard, if you're happy, if you know how to be kind and be a good person, it all works out.
Right.
But leaving something out on the table and then looking back and going, but it did get you to Cal Poly, which I happen to think is like the best deal going. So.
Oh, and I didn't even know what Cal Poly was. Yeah. Like I tell people I went to Cal Poly and they're like, well, what? And I'm like, unlucky for you. Yeah. Sorry, you don't know. You know nothing.
So once you got there, you loved it.
Oh, it's beautiful.
Yeah.
I love the coach. I mean, I remember on my visit, I walked into the office and my coach was like, you're going to be an All-American. And I was like, what does that mean? Oh my gosh. I had no idea, but he just believed in me. Right. And so going there, it's a whole different game, right? Like you go from high school in Montana to college in California and it's like a whole different game, but everything, like you said, everything works out best case scenario.
Yeah.
Like the things that happened at Cal Poly, I think back and I'm like, it all prepared me for the future that I did not know was going to happen, but like injuries, you know, hard classes and like just all this stuff.
What was your major?
Sports management.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. So I went for sports management and then you end up taking all of the engineering and science and math courses, you know, and it's just like, I mean, Cal Poly is a hard school.
It is a hard school.
It's a hard school. Yeah. And I was not mentally prepared for that. I was literally going to play volleyball.
Yeah. I know. I mean, I remember there were lots of people that had like trouble staying eligible. Because one, it's a hard school. Two, it's a fun town. There's lots to do. And you're an athlete. So your schedule's a grind.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everything is working against you.
Yeah.
No.
Except for that you're living in San Luis and you're college and you're an athlete.
The beach is like 10 minutes away.
Yeah.
It's
So it's the reframe because but it's a time management, like raising athletes, like it's a big jump.
Yes.
Yeah. So, okay, so some of your accolades, you were an All-American.
I was.
Twice. And then the 2011 Big West Player of the Year.
I was.
And
I ended up getting National Player of the Week one time, which I was like, is that even a thing? Wow. Out of all these people? Yeah.
And what position?
I was a middle blocker,
Yeah,
and then I also played back row. So I got to play defense, and also hitting the bic was my favorite.
Oh my goodness.
Absolute favorite.
I have to go watch the film.
It was so much fun. I loved it.
Seriously?
Yeah.
I always wanted to be a middle blocker and a setter, which doesn't happen. But that was my dream position.
Setter, mine too.
Yeah. So, but all of that translates beautifully to the beach.
It does.
So, because a lot of times it's so hard for a middle blocker to come out and play beach volleyball. But if you were playing back row, because nowadays nobody wants their kid to be a middle blocker, by the way. So you'll realize like this is like a club sport volleyball wide phenomenon. Like,
why?
I think the only good reason is that you don't learn how to pass. Because they get sport specific really young, or position specific really young, and so you don't learn how to pass. But why don't they just train them the way you were trained?
That's such a bummer.
Right?
I feel like you're putting someone in a box, and like volleyball, the whole thing is a skill set, right? So that's the beautiful thing about when I grew up. I'm so thankful because now it's so different. Kids are starting young. They're encouraged to just do that one sport, get really good at it. You know, the position thing, I'm just like, I did everything. Like, you did everything when you were my age. You had to pass, you played defense, you set, like, you did all the things. And even, you know, in high school, it was like, okay, well, let's like keep her on the court, you know? And so learning to pass, learning to play defense, I'm so thankful that that was the process back then. Yeah.
So from Cal Poly, you went, you played in Europe, right?
Yeah.
Tell me about that.
I went, so my senior year, 5th year, because I had gotten shoulder surgery. Let's see, what year was that? It was like my 4th year. I think it was 2012. It was after being Big West Player of the Year.
Okay.
Got shoulder surgery because it was totally just... Well, I injured it during season. I remember the exact play. We were playing St. Mary's. We ended up winning though. But I remember the exact play. Yeah. Reached for a ball a little too far and it just tore. I had a torn bicep tendon, torn labrum. I had a bone spur digging into my rotator cuff. My shoulder was so loose that like every 4th ball I hit, it would just come out. Yeah. God. And it would be the thing where you just like, I either need to score or hit out because this is going to take 2-3 seconds to come back. So painful. It was horrible. Yeah. And I was getting set a lot. So it was like 70 swings a game. But adrenaline is a beautiful thing. Yeah. So it is. Yeah. So I got shoulder surgery, and then a week after getting cleared for my shoulder surgery, they found I had a broken foot.
Oh my God.
So I'm like, really, you know, mindset wise, I'm like, I'm coming back stronger. This is going to be great. My last year, 5th season, you know, wanted to go to the Olympics, all the things. And then foot's broken and I'm like, okay, this is fine.
Stress fracture,
you know, rushed into surgery and the doctor, you know, did his best.
Okay.
Anyway.
I can tell you're being kind.
He basically re-broke my foot. So I like I'm like crutching into practice that fall, off the crutches to practice, and I leave practice on crutches. Like could not walk. It was so painful.
And you're playing.
And I was desperately trying to play my last season. And then I finally figured out, I'm like, this is not worth it. Yeah. So I thought volleyball was over. I thought my life was over. That was my whole identity.
Yes. And that's such a big thing. We talk about that all the time. And it really is. That's why I've become, part of the reason I've become so fascinated with this world of high performance is like, what does real sustainable high performance look like? And I think one piece of that is not getting tied up in that identity, but it's what you do every day. Yep. And what you do, you have so much passion, you put so much into it, how it does become part of who you are. Yes. But like learning how to evolve past that. So what was that? How did you get out of it? How did you move through that?
It's funny because I actually didn't in that moment. Yeah. You know, my life is over. I'm trying to figure out what do I want to do. Like volleyball is my life. You know, I want to work in sports. I want to be a broadcaster. I love talking to people. Yeah. And then the opportunity came up after I healed. I redid the foot surgery from a new doctor, and an opportunity came up where they were like, "Hey, do you want to play overseas?" And I was like, "Never thought about that." And so then I did a tour and ended up going and playing overseas. And even then it was, I mean, I started in 2014. I continued to play volleyball because I didn't know who I was outside of volleyball. I didn't know what I wanted to do. I knew I didn't want to work a 9-to-5.
Yeah.
Like, I knew I didn't want to sit in an office. I was like, that sounds absolutely horrible to me. My dream job when I was like high school, I said, if I can work out, eat healthy, you know, travel the world, change the world, and just make people laugh, like, that's my dream job. Yeah. What can I do to like do all of those things, you know? And so I continued to play volleyball basically out of desperation.
Yeah.
And every season I was in Europe, something would happen where it was like, is this meant for me? Probably not. And I'm going to continue to do it because I'm scared of what lies on the other side of like, I'm done playing volleyball. You know, like, who am I without it?
It's such an interesting, what's coming through to me is just like how, you know, you never know what's going on behind somebody's story. Yeah. Because there's so many people that would think like, that's the end all, like, you got to go play professional sports in the sport that you love. Right. And the thing that you were scared of was on the other side of that. Right. Like, it's like the paradigm is so different depending, I think, for people to understand, like, depending on your perspective and your conditioning, it's so different. Yes. That even what looks the hardest thing to reach for somebody is the thing that felt the most comfortable to you. Oh yeah. So even still, everyone talks about stepping outside your comfort zone. Like, your comfort zone was professional sports, which is really cool, but at the same time, it's the same lesson. Same lesson. I would go overseas every single season. I would, you know, find a new team. I'd go overseas. The first week, I would be calling my mom, calling my dad, calling my little sister, like, why did you let me come back? I'm so depressed. Like, I'm alone for 9 months. This is horrible. And then, of course, I would like adjust and I'd be like, oh, okay, like, we're here playing volleyball. Super grateful for the experience. Yeah. It was amazing. What countries were you in? Finland, Czech Republic, Germany, Peru, and the Philippines. I was in Germany for 2 seasons. Okay. Yeah. So it was awesome. Like, living in a new country, experiencing the culture, the absolute grind. Yeah. Being treated like, basically like a machine. There were some huge growth opportunities. Yeah. And just mental toughness that goes into like playing over there. It's a whole different experience. Usual just travel experience. No, people are like, wow, you get to travel, and I'm totally. Like, actually, we practice 8 hours a day, so no, I don't. Yeah. Oh my gosh, it's wild. So, how'd your body hold up through all of that? My body, you know, obviously, I did some preventative work as far as like my foot, shoulder, stuff like that. By month 6, though, your body is just, it's so torn down. From practicing twice a day, you've got games every weekend. I mean, it's basically double days for 9 months, 8 months, 9 months, however long the season is. And, you know, like I said, injuries would happen, you know, small things. And I was just like, oh, this is fine. You know, you'd get summer off and you'd recoup and stuff. And it wasn't until I go to Germany in 2017 that finally, you know, I am diagnosed with cancer. Like, that was the moment where it was like 2017. And how did you get to the point where you knew, like, was it just a routine physical or? So I actually went and got a physical in July of 2017. I had just gotten back from the Philippines, went and got a, you know, typical yearly checkup that I did every single year. You know, had some signs, so this is like a warning for anyone listening to this, please. Right? Yeah. And it's so ridiculous. Like, bloating is one of the major signs for ovarian cancer, which you're like, I get bloated after eating. Yeah. And it's like, oh, like, that's the warning. I remember being like, really? Like, it couldn't have been something else. Like, I didn't have pain. I don't remember having any pain. My period was normal. Like, I came to my yearly checkup. I had bloating. I had a little bit of like uncomfortable, you know, lower abdomen. I don't want to call it pain, but I guess just it wasn't comfortable, right? Right. But she did the whole regular checkup and she was like, oh, you're young, you know, no family history. And I'm, of course, like, well, I just got back from a weird country and eating weird things, right. You know, so never in my mind would I have been like, I probably have cancer growing, right? No. And how old were you? 26. 26. I'm sorry, I was 25 at the time, at that time. Yeah, 25. Yeah. No family history. You're not on anybody's radar.
No. And I'm a pro athlete, super healthy. Like I was so health conscious, all the things. And so I went and did my yearly checkup. And then of course there were like some little signs here and there from July until December when of course I'm, I remember going to our holiday Christmas party and I was just like, if I'm being honest, I thought I was pregnant. Yeah. Like I was like, I'm 2 months pregnant at least. Yeah. So that's when I went to the doctor. Uh-huh. And I remember going in there and then being like, oh, it's not a baby. It's actually a huge tumor. And I was like, what? And she was like, oh, but don't worry. Like, not all tumors are bad. She was like, it's just like really big. So we have no idea where it starts and ends. And I was like, and as soon as she said that, I was like, I have cancer. Like, I just like in my gut, I was like, this is not good. And so, it was
Were you by yourself at the doctor? Was your mom anywhere? Like, did you have someone with you or?
I actually had a friend visiting from Montana. So she had come. And it was like Christmas, it was about to be Christmas break. Okay. So she was coming to like watch the final game and then we were going to go to Barcelona, we were going to go to London, like we had these plans, right? And so go to the doctor and I do, the ultrasound and it was like, okay, after let's go get a CT scan because we need to see what's going on. So I get the CT scan and of course at this point it's still like, oh, like let's, chill, don't need to worry, nothing. And of course it's like, how do you not worry?
Yeah. Yeah, you're like, I'm trying.
I'm like, what? Okay. Yeah. I'm like, okay, we're good here. So, and I remember leaving the ultrasound and being like, oh my gosh, my coach is going to be so mad. I just don't feel like I can practice right now. Like that was the thought.
No, absolutely.
And I was like, are they gonna understand? So I did not end up going to practice. But that first ultrasound to the time that I was rushed home back to Montana for surgery was like a complete whirlwind. It was a week span. Like it happened so fast. I found out on a Monday, hey, you've got a tumor. And then Tuesday,
you're on a plane.
No, Tuesday morning is when I remember walking into the office and there was the doctor and then there was another doctor and the look they gave me was like, hey, we've got some bad news. And I just knew. I was like, okay. Yeah. It was so...
Oh, that gives me chills.
It was so wild. In a whole new country. Different country. The language barrier. The way they did medicine. Like, it was like... I didn't have time to process it. Like, they told me, they were like, hey, like, we're not 100% sure, but we're 99% sure it's cancer. And then they started, of course, talking about all the blood tests I'm going to have to get and chemotherapy. And it just like went from I'm a healthy 25-year-old, 26-year-old now to talking about getting chemo and like getting everything taken out. Right. Yeah. Like I remember when my doctor called me and I was like, so like, what are they going to do for surgery? And she was like, well, at this point it's probably going to be everything. And I remember having just a total panic attack. Like
for the view you have of whatever your life is going to be is completely shifted.
One, I had never thought about having children, but just the idea of it being taken away, like, oh, I don't even get to have a choice at 25 years old? 26, however old I was. It was just like wild. And I think, as women, like, if I can't have children, like, who am I? Like there's that like subconscious. Yes.
Absolutely.
And so it was just, it was a lot. It was a lot.
So you're home within a week.
I'm home within a week and everything just aligned perfectly. God pretty much was like, hey, you need to go home to get all of this done because they were talking about keeping me in Germany for treatment and surgery. They were like, you need an emergency surgery. We also cannot put you in until like a month later because everyone's on holiday. And I was like, what?
So it's not that much of an emergency.
So it's not an emergency. Yeah. And so
I get home faster than that.
Yeah. And so it just, everything lined up where it was basically like God was like, hey, you got to go home and get all this done.
Okay.
So I was diagnosed on the 17th and I had my emergency surgery on the 26th.
Wow.
Yeah. In Montana.
Okay.
And they did wonderful. Like it was.
And they took, so you the surgery and then chemo too.
Mm-hmm. So I had the surgery and I had a tumor the size of a football taken from my right ovary and fallopian tube. And I remember there was just so many times where it was like, hey, we're not sure if we're gonna have to take everything, we're basically gonna open you up, and you're gonna either wake up with everything gone, or
so you find out when you wake up.
Yeah. And it was like, just I like feel so deeply for that. I just can remember everything, and it was like wild.
So you woke up, and
I woke up, and the guy, I just remember the doc. I was like on drugs, obviously, from anesthesia.
I just had her ankle reconstruction, and that was enough. So I can only imagine. Yeah.
So I wake up from the surgery, and he's like, "Well, you still got an ovary and a uterus," and I was like, I just remember smiling at him, like
happy. You're like, I can still feel it.
Yeah. So that was great, and then of course, I want to say it was like 2 weeks, because you can't see it, but my scar is like half my stomach. And so chemotherapy, you get nauseous, stuff like that. So they were like, hey, we need 2 weeks to heal. And then I started the chemo. And it was every day for 6-7 hours a day. And they do like rounds of chemotherapy. I know it's like tedious little things, but it was 4 months of chemo pretty much every single day. I went every week. They were like, you're young, you can handle it, let's just like kill this thing. And I was like, okay, like here I am, do whatever you need to do. So I kind of was just along for the ride at that point.
Wow. And radiation too, or
no radiation,
just chemotherapy?
Just chemo.
That wasn't enough, but
no.
I'm just curious about the entire protocol.
No, I went in emergency surgery, and of course, it's stage 4. Like, hey, it was actually dysgerminoma is the name of it. Very rare form of cancer, very aggressive, fast growing, which ended up benefiting me because chemo attacks, your cells that regenerate, right? So like hair, your skin, all that stuff. And how does our body encapsulate a football? And you're living your life. Like, granted, you had a few signs, but like and this is the other thing about athletes. Have you ever given it like our pain, like our capacity for pain is huge. Well, and we just push through things, right? Like we're just like, oh, it's fine. I recently like held a football for the first time, and I was like, it was like the first time since surgery, and I remember just like holding it up, and I was like, where did it go?
You think it would just be like
like just out
sitting there.
And I'm not like a big girl. No. Like, where was it? And it was just wild. I have no idea. Like,
so that was in 2017.
2018 January is when I started the chemo. And did it for four full months, finished in May. My process, I feel very, this is going to sound weird, lucky to have gone through what I did in the way that I did. Like, I had an emergency surgery, and I only had to do 4 months of chemo. Like, I didn't have anything else. There was potential for another surgery, and I didn't have to do any of that. And it was like, I was on so much medication. Like, I was just so much medication.
But the discipline, did the discipline come through? I mean, obviously you're in a fight for your life. And you've been taught how to show up.
Well, it was the mind. The mind is like, I mean, my will to survive was stronger than the cancer. Like, I literally remember being diagnosed, and I was like, this is not who I am. This is a simple, like, part of my life that is obviously a little rough, but I'm still going to do the things that I want to do. Like, I'm still going to go to the gym. I'm still going to eat super healthy. And that, like, I went to chemo for 6 hours a day. After I finished chemo, I walked 3 miles with my mom, and then I would go to the gym and work out. I would do whatever I could. Like, some days was like, we're doing the Stairmaster for 5 minutes, and that's all we have. That's all we got. But like, that kept my sanity, but it was also the discipline and the will to survive. Like, I think so many people in any situation, like, you have a decision that you can make, and you're either gonna decide that, like, hey, this isn't who I am, this is what I want, or it's gonna literally kill you. Like, I talk to the nurses all the time about people going in there and just, you die because you don't want to fight. And that was a really big lesson for me. And it taught me that a lot of things don't actually matter. Like, I used to stress about the dumbest stuff. Now my perspective is like, I see other people stress and struggle, and I'm just like, this doesn't matter. Like, it does in this moment for you, and I'm here with you, but it doesn't matter. Like, there are so many other things. And I just think that sometimes, like, God, you got to get on your knees and just beg to God for help in order to, like, see past all the small stuff.
And there's so much science coming out with spirituality being such an integral part of our well-being. Yeah. That it's awesome if you're one of those people that's always felt it. Yeah. Right? And I definitely am one of those people that's always felt that presence of being with God, whatever it is that, people want to call it, but I've always believed in God. Yeah. But now with people, like, it's always been science versus and it's not versus, it's together. Yes. And it's like, if you can make that journey over to spirituality, there is the health benefits.
The health benefits
of
real. Prayer.
Yeah.
Like, it's
real.
Yes.
So that was another integral part of your health journey.
When the moment I was diagnosed, I was just overcome with total peace, and that was a God thing. There's no way I, in that moment, felt what I felt without God. Like, I was just like, it was like hey, you're gonna be okay. This is just a little thing that we have to experience and go through in order to move on to this next stage of our life, because you simply did not want to stop playing volleyball. And so here was this little lesson for you to see your potential for other things. And I know that sounds so cheesy, but I truly believe all of that. Like, I had to go through that in order to...
And I don't think unless you've had a gut check moment, and here's the thing, we all have them. Yep. And there's no use comparing them. This is another thing I've learned, right? Like, there are people that you can say, oh, he's had it worse and she's had it better. Everyone, if they're honest, has one of those moments. Yes. And when we compare them, we don't do ourselves any good. Right. But that might be one of the things where we were saying, like, you can say it, but you have to learn it on your own. Yes. And so to the person who it sounds cheesy or like, or insensitive, or whoever it is you're afraid you're going to offend, you're like, no, this is actually coming from my experience. Yeah. You can listen to me. I'm not, my intentions are good, and this is my perspective. Yep. And sugarcoating it anymore, like, I feel like there's so much of that out there in the world, and it's like, everybody's perspective is valid. Yes. Everybody's been somewhere, and as long as you're not trying to hurt anybody, like, I wish we had more room for people to share, and that's part of the reason I love to do this, is like share those stories, because in those stories is something that you're going to pick up, and hopefully you don't have to hit rock bottom. I don't wish for people to have these massively, but they're life transforming. Absolutely. And so once you go through them, it's like, you don't end up regretting, and I haven't had cancer. I mean, but you don't end up regretting the way you think you would maybe when it started, or you have that rush of peace. I had that, my youngest son almost drowned, and that was my most concrete moment of faith, where it was like, this is awful, but there was this crazy feeling of peace on my knees, like, it's gonna be okay. Yeah. And I remember looking at my other kids going, whatever happens, it's gonna be okay, and I meant it. Yeah. And I was scared out of my mind, but I actually remember meaning what I was saying, and I was like, okay. And you can't explain that stuff. No. So, it's life-changing, whatever these moments are. And we're not meant to go through this life like, it's not just a walk in the park. And frankly, what would the world be? Like, I'm so weirdly grateful for that whole experience. Like, it taught me so much about myself. Like, you really have no idea how strong you are until you have to be, until you, like, really have to show up for yourself. And then you're like, like, now what I say, if something happens, I'm like, I beat cancer. Yeah. This is nothing. Yeah. I'm like, wow. Like, for your volleyball game. Yeah. Win or lose. I'm all good. My first AVP, that was my saying in my head, was like, you get to play volleyball. Mm-hmm.
you're not nervous. You literally beat cancer. Like, you get to be here. This is amazing. So grateful to be here.
So great.
Does it help all the time? No.
Yeah.
No, it does not.
Right.
Sometimes I'm still nervous. But like most of the time, it's like, I had someone tell me, they were like, fear cannot exist in the same space as gratitude. And I was like,
that's beautiful. It's so true.
It's so true.
Yeah.
Grateful to be here.
Yeah.
That's what I tell my partner. Grateful to be here every time.
I love it.
Every time. Yeah.
Hey, I hope you're enjoying this chat as much as I am. For more great content, courses, and lifestyle, go to BeBetterMedia.tv. Let's just get into, we're on the beach volleyball route. Yeah. You're here to play Manhattan Beach.
Yes.
The king of all tournaments.
The king, and we got in with our points. I'm just still...
It's awesome.
It's a huge goal that we had.
Because what year did you come back to the beach?
Oh, I didn't come back. Last year was my first year.
Last year was when I heard about you?
Yeah.
I feel like it was like 2 or 3 years ago.
No, it was literally last year.
Doing your cancer story now.
Yeah.
So you had just come back last year.
Yeah.
And that's when the commentator was talking about you.
Yes.
Okay.
So 2018, finished chemo in April, and then I'm like, I'm determined to have a comeback season because it cut me off right in the middle of the season. I want to go play somewhere. And then that's when I went to Peru, was December of 2018.
Okay.
So yeah, I went and played.
Not wasting any time.
No, I was like, I tried to go sooner. Like I look back at messages with my agent, and in March of 2018, I'm like bald, have a blood clot, like getting juiced up with chemo, and I'm like messaging him like, hey, is there anything in the Philippines? Like in April? I was like, I'm gonna be done. And he was like, what?
Yeah, you're crazy.
Yeah, I'm like posting pictures on Facebook of me bald, and he's like, Jen, you I don't know if you'll be ready by then. And I was like, I'm good. I'm good. I'm at the gym. Like, I'm at the gym right now. We're good. Oh, so it was ridiculous. But I went back in December, and that was like final season of indoor. And then, I started playing beach in I moved to Austin in 2020.
Okay, so during COVID.
So during COVID, I moved May of 2020. My life, just a lot.
Yeah.
There's a lot that happened between me doing chemo, finishing chemo, and moving to Austin.
Okay.
We don't have to get into it.
Okay. Made it to Austin by May of 2020.
I made it to Austin May of 2020, and I was like, how am I going to meet people? How am I going to make friends? I guess I'll play beach volleyball. That's huge here. Weird. So I started playing beach volleyball with my friends, and...
Is it that same little part? Is Austin so big, or like where they hold AVP Austin? Is it like, did you play there, or is there...
No, because that was closed because of COVID.
Okay.
But there was like Aussie's Beach Grill, and it was just like, that's literally, I remember...
That's so fun.
That's how I met someone in the grocery store. They were wearing an AVP hat, and I was like, hey, I just moved here yesterday, like... And I saw her in the grocery store, and I was like, God, you rascal.
Yeah.
Like, you literally placed her here, same time, never saw her there again. But I was like, hey, you play, like, here's my number, would love to get invited. Sure enough, she invites me, and they were like, are you good? And I was like, I don't know, I played indoor, and then I played with them, and they were like, oh, you'll be fine.
You can play.
You'll be here. They were like, okay, we'll be your friend.
Yeah.
And that's literally how I met all the people in Austin, made friends, and then that's how my partner, Katie Dickens, that's how she, like, found me. And was like, do you want to be my partner for 2021? And I was like, are you sure?
Yeah.
I'm not really sure what I'm doing. So yeah.
Did you guys, were you being coached at that point, or did you guys just start practicing?
We started practicing January of 2021. And yeah, we were twice a week. We would go and play at our coach's house.
Okay.
Just like, it was kind of for funsies. Like we were just like, let's just see what happens, you know? And then, of course, when we qualified in Atlanta, it was like, that was my first ever AVP qualifier. And we qualified, and it was just like what's happening? Like, so cool. It was so cool, but it was also like, what are we doing? Yeah. Like in my mind,
so
I was like.
So that is where I found, so that, I mean, I became an AVP junkie when the AVP came to Fresno when I was in 8th grade. They came inland, California City, 2 years, so 25,000 people watching around center court because there's not as much to do. Yeah. It was the coolest thing that ever came to town. Yeah. And I was taken. Like, I'm like, this is the coolest thing ever. Yeah. And then, but we didn't really, it was 25 minutes out of town. I'd never played beach volleyball. I never played it until I moved back down here. But I was always following the AVP after that. I had posters on my walls.
That's so
like
cool.
I just grabbed onto it.
Yeah.
So, but it's like, it's such a community-based sport. It's so fun. And so I've always followed, and I watch on Amazon or Peacock or wherever they've been streaming, and so that wasn't your first tournament.
It was literally almost a year ago. Like I just got Year Memories. I think last weekend, the 13th or whatever, was the Atlanta Open.
So then you played through that season?
So well, there were only the 3 stops. It was like so weird. They did.
That's right.
Yeah. Okay. So they did Atlanta, Manhattan Beach, and Chicago.
Okay.
And so we did all of those qualifiers. And it was like 3 in 1 month, and I was like, "This is insane."
Yeah, that's a lot.
It was a lot, but then this season,
you guys are all over the place.
Every weekend, like from May until now,
all the way across the country.
Yes, just all over the place, and I was just like, "This is wild," but okay, we're here for it.
So what's it been like?
Well, last season was like hey, like let's do this and see what happens, and then we actually did well, and it was like okay, I guess like let's actually try this year. And so we did the bare minimum last year.
Okay.
And this year it's like we have been blessed to have an amazing gym, an amazing trainer. I have a friend who's a personal trainer who like made a program for me and my partner. Like nutrition was set up, practice. Like we got into a really good routine and worked our butts off, and at the beginning of the year, there was the Austin qualifier, and we missed qualifying. Obviously, that's the hometown tournament. We missed qualifying by 2 points.
Oh,
absolute heartbreaker, right? And so then it was like, okay, next is New Orleans. Like, let's focus on the next one. And so, we go to San Antonio. The qualifier for New Orleans is San Antonio, which again, it's like hometown tournament.
Yeah.
We lose in 3 by 2 points to qualify. And it was just like, at that point, wanting to quit.
Yeah.
It was New Orleans is Katie's hometown. Like it was like both hometown tournaments.
You just met Lauren. Lauren and I went down to that tournament.
Oh really?
Yeah. I love New Orleans.
It's cool.
It's a fun town.
Yeah. But yeah, missed qualifying by 2 points. Absolutely wanted to quit. I was like, this is not for me. I'm doing this for fun. The emotional turmoil that is occurring right now in my body, I'm not here for it.
Okay.
I remember just like on the verge of tears in San Antonio, and one of my friends' sponsors comes up to me and he goes, "It's harder to change when you're winning." And I was like,
oh, that's a freaking beautiful quote.
He said that, and I literally was like,
oh,
wow. Yeah. And that I will never forget.
Oh, that one needs to go up. I'm a quote fanatic.
That's it.
Going
That's
on the
your
vision
quote.
Board right there.
Oh, for sure. I'm gonna make a reel with that quote because that he just said those however many words, whatever.
It's harder to change when you're winning.
It completely changed my mindset. I was like, you're right. And from that moment, like I remember it was after that tournament, went on a Greece vacation with my family. It was a great reset, and then came back and it was like, let's
go
change.
Yeah.
Like let's start changing. And I mean, obviously we were still working our butt off, but I was like, something's got to give.
Yeah.
Like we are working so hard. We're so close. It's not like we're not even close to these teams. It's like we are right there. Let's make some changes. And it was just like, from that moment, that was the catalyst. Like we literally started qualifying and started beating these really good teams and started qualifying, made it to the finals, like made it to the semis. These really good teams. Like it was just like a holy cow, like here we are. And that it was that
rolling ever
that
since.
quote,
Isn't
man.
that crazy?
Yeah.
The little things, but see, that's also a mark of a great athlete, is like something, that ability to shift.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
And yeah, you're gonna have your moments of pause, but athletes make those shifts.
The shifts
quicker. The higher you're playing, the faster you shift.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It was just a huge game changer, but also just not quitting.
Yeah.
Like not quitting when it gets hard. I think, no offense, but society today is like, do what you feel like.
I have the perfect segue into your business and your, like, the way that your mentality is fitting into your entrepreneurial venture. I read this article about millennials and how and of course we can generalize, articles generalize everything, but it would, the study was millennials only want to work in a job that is meaningful to them. And while I am a huge proponent of having purpose and meaning in your life, when we're starting out, sometimes you just got to do things you don't want to do.
Yep.
I don't always feel like emptying the dishwasher or and life just has a lot of those things. And are we getting away from, in that pursuit of life is supposed to be this fully self-actualizing experience, that you get away from, there's just discipline and there's grind and there's, you got to take care of yourself. Yeah. But it's that balance. And where you are from the perspective that you're getting in volleyball to how I watched, the other thing that has drawn me to you is your amazing Instagram with your reels that promote your business. So I want to get into that because it's like, it just pulls you in. Yeah. And so that's a health journey as well. And it plays in for athletes. And so tell me some about that.
So I actually found the water because of cancer, chemo. I had tried it 1.5 years before I was diagnosed. I started detoxing, and I remember making fun of the water and being to my friend, I was like, I'm a pro athlete. I'm super healthy. I actually don't need that. That's for old, sick people. And then God was like, you're funny, because I would have never thought twice about investing in a machine for myself if I didn't have cancer. Never. I would not have a machine right now. There's no way. Yeah. I had to hit rock bottom. And unfortunately, I think a lot of people have to hit rock bottom in order to start taking their health seriously, their job seriously, their family seriously, whatever they are maybe taking for granted. Yeah. You gotta, like I said, be on your knees asking God for help. And that's I would not be here if it wasn't for that. It makes me it gives me chills thinking about if I wouldn't have gotten cancer, all of the things that I went through afterwards. It was just it's so divine how everything was laid out. So I found the water because of that. Yeah. And I was told I was going to be on meds for the rest of my life. I had brain fog so bad I could not spell. I remember my mom being like, hey, can you write down the word free on a piece of paper so we can give this piece of furniture away? And I was like, sure, got it. And then I could not remember how to write the letter F. And I was like, Mom, I don't know how to write the letter F. And she was like, what? Laughs. And I just remember tears coming down my face because I was that was the scariest thing. Yeah. I knew my brain was supposed to be working and it was not working. And she goes, it's the same as E, just without the bottom dash. And I tried and I wrote it backwards. Oh my God. And I was and then all of a sudden it just clicked and I was like, oh, and she goes, there you go. Thought it was a joke. Yeah, you're like, and I was joking. It's terrifying. It was terrifying. And I had neuropathy so bad I couldn't walk, could not feel my feet, could not feel my hands. I remember I started dropping cups and I was like, what the heck is going on? And I would lay down to go to sleep. And the pain in my feet was it was when your feet on fire. And the little needles when your foot falls asleep and it's coming back, it was constant. And I could not walk. My feet were numb. I had to watch my foot take steps, otherwise I would have tripped.
And this was all coming out of the chemo.
Yep. All coming out of the chemo, vertigo, brain fog, fatigue, appetite changes, crazy stuff that if I still was experiencing, there's no way I'd be playing volleyball. Yeah. And so they tell me I'm going to be on meds for the rest of my life. And I was just that was when it just clicked. Yeah. I don't know. God just planted the seed. He was like, water. And I was like, and I messaged my friend and I was like, hey, it's me again. Remember I made fun of it? I actually really need it now. Mm-hmm. And I just bought a machine. It was a total faith buy. I had no idea what was going to happen. And of course, a week into drinking the water, all my side effects start to go away. And I was just like, oh my gosh. It was crazy. And like I said, I had no idea what was going on. And that's not water healed me. It's I think when we provide our bodies with the right environment, we can start, our bodies can start to regenerate and literally heal themselves, we just need to provide it the right environment. Yeah. And it was that moment when I was like, what is happening? And I started doing a ton of research and I just became obsessed. Yeah. Obsessed with water.
Okay.
And now I'm the water wizard.
Yes, you are. Again, check out her Instagram. It's awesome. But that goes so much deeper than the reels. The reels are meant to make us curious.
Yeah. And laugh.
And laugh, yes. And then so first of all, can anybody have one of these?
Anyone. It literally hooks up to your faucet in your house, and you have literal medical grade living electrolyzed reduced water in your home. And it does over 65 things. It's the coolest. It's the best thing I've ever invested in.
Okay, so just give me like a handful of those 65 things.
Oh my gosh. There's a setting for beauty water. I get this all the time because it's a lot of people's favorite. Yeah. Beauty water, you can use it for toner for your skin. You can wash your face with it. You can wash mirrors with it, polish floors, polish dishes, whatever you so choose. Water plants with it. Yeah. Obviously, there's the drinking water. You can make tea without having to boil the water because of the structure. Like there's just my water science brain is going crazy right now, so I'm gonna try and not overwhelm. But as an athlete, the type of water you drink, that will depend on how well you're absorbing supplements, vitamins, nutrition. Like cramping is a big thing in volleyball, like all of those things. And there's also
structured water is more efficient for your body. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Is that right?
Yeah. Okay. Because our bodies can actually absorb it, right? So the cells can actually absorb it, which is why people start to detox when they drink it. So there's also a setting on the machine that creates like medical grade sanitizer. No chemicals, no toxins.
Oh, hallelujah.
I drank it when I had food poisoning. And it,
no
I gargled with it when I started feeling like a sore throat.
Seriously.
I'm so serious. And you use it for hand sanitizer. It helps with wrinkles. Like there are so many cool things.
Oh,
I'm obsessed.
I know. I love it.
You can wash pesticides. It's water. It's all just water. All of it is like, obviously you don't want to drink some of it, but like you can literally remove pesticides from your produce. You can remove stains. Like it's just water.
And we invest so much. So I bet people come to you and are like, oh, I can't. It's too expensive, right?
All the time.
And then you go and look at all the things that we do spend money on.
Yeah.
Right? Like you're going to go down to the bar and drop whatever. You're going to go out to dinner. You're going to hit Starbucks.
$5.25 for this
cute
little cup of coffee.
I know. And but it's not. So why isn't this like more mainstream, widespread? Why doesn't the whole world know about this?
I think it's something that people are becoming more aware of, right? Like we talked about it earlier. Like I get so many questions about water now. Like people coming and being like, I just have this gut feeling that water is what I need to be changing. And I'm like, you're right. Yeah. You're not wrong, like, and obviously I don't want to talk about what I say is chemo saved me from cancer. The water saved me from chemo. Like that's the thing I tell people, because I going back, I would do chemo again. Like it saved my life, right? Like I'm not against it. I'm not against medicine where it's needed. I think they can work together. And there's such like a stigma around natural health and Western medicine. And it's like this battle.
No,
it's like politics. It's
like,
hey,
everything right now.
They're both on the same bird. They're two wings on the same bird. Like it's both medicine. Like it can all be used together. Yeah. So I think that's why. Yeah. I also think it's just absolutely bonkers for people to be like, water can do all those things, because we have been told that water is just water. Like drink 8 cups of water, doesn't matter. And there's so many different types of water. Like I'm still trying to figure out why it's not more known, and that's why I'm like so passionate about sharing it. Is like I get to tell all these people. Yeah. Awesome. Cool. I will do it.
Be the messenger.
Yeah. Cool. I'm the conduit for this beautiful machine. And also I just think it's hard for people to invest in themselves, and that's like a deeper issue of like, I'm not worthy of this. This is absolutely crazy.
I think that's hitting on something really big out there across a lot of society right now.
For sure.
And until you realize that you're worth the investment, and everybody is.
Until you lose your health, it does not become a priority, unfortunately, I think for a lot of people.
Yeah, we take things for granted. Yeah. Your story, it's so crazy powerful. But to see what you're doing with it is it's so aligned with everything I'm learning about the world. And my goal with generational learning is to teach people younger than I am. And have people learn things faster than I did. And it's not because I regret anything. It's just because I feel like, okay, I went through this the same way you do. I went through this because I needed to, so that I could give back in some way. And these stories and people who are so passionate about what they do, that's the other thing I think that could save America right now, is actual conscious capitalism. There's such a push, like you've got the negativity about how this country's run, and
like you said, no one wants to work anymore.
Right.
They all want to do.
Right. It doesn't work, and it's not fulfilling. Yeah. But if you don't believe in what you're doing every day, that also isn't fulfilling. And doing something just to make a buck is not. Right. There's so many rich, unhappy people out there. Mm-hmm. So why not go after something, like figure out what it is that lights you up? Yeah. And let that be your job. And I see you doing that, and I can't imagine. So how long have you been selling water?
Funny story. Okay. And this just fits perfectly in, because when I first, started, you have to do the hard things, right? I was at 2 jobs that I was a volleyball coach, and I was a personal trainer. And that was after I finished playing volleyball. And I loved working with people, I love working with people. I obviously love volleyball. I love exercise, but I felt so unfulfilled. I was working for someone else, had to clock in and out. My time was a salary. And I was like, wow, this kind of sucks. Mm-hmm. And I wanted to quit for so long, and I just wanted to do the water. Fear, right? I was scared of judgment. Mm-hmm. I was scared of people thinking oh, you're a scammer. This isn't real. And I was like, it wasn't until COVID hit. I'm fired from both of these jobs. I'm literally, my lease is up. This is that window I was telling you about. Yeah. A lot happened. I was literally living out of my car. I was in Vegas, just gotten out of a super toxic 2.5-year relationship. Mm-hmm. And the trauma, all the things that came with that, right?
It's a lot.
This man literally told me, I have to say this because I will never forget it. He said to me, Jen, the reason I cheated on you during chemo was because you were bald, and it made me question my sexuality, and it was really hard for me.
Oh my
God. And
that
just sits there, you know what I mean? And I'm
gosh. What bomb can we get to just blow that thought from sitting in there?
But it's actually it's one of those things that's I use it for good now. I remember it, and I'm that taught me that it had nothing to do with me. It had everything to do with this other person. And it was that moment that I was like, wow, you are really messed up. Yeah. And okay, here we are. So living out of my car, dealing with that, I finally was I'm moving home. I have nowhere to go. I have no jobs. I have to figure this out. And I got to Montana, and I was I still have bills to pay. What am I going to do? And I was okay, I have the water. And it was that moment that I decided with conviction that this is what I'm doing. There is no plan B. This has been my path, and I've been fighting it this whole time. It's been in your face. Mm-hmm. This amazing story. You can literally do all the things, those 5 things from your dream job. You can do all of them. Let's do it. And I sat in my parents' living room on the floor, 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. for 2 weeks straight, doing my business, whatever that meant. I was just
do you ever have that feeling what does this mean? What am I doing next?
What am I doing?
How do I create this?
Yeah. Yes. All the time. Okay. 2 weeks straight. I was 12 hours on the floor, a crazy person, but I was obsessed. I was obsessed with learning. Mm-hmm. I was obsessed with connecting with people. I was obsessed with making videos, learning about the water, sharing it. Yeah. I was just I became obsessed. And that is when my business started blowing up, because it's always a decision. It's always a decision that you have the opportunity to make. So true. And I just was let's do it. And I went from living in my car to then I'm moving to Austin, Texas. I am paying my bills. I have a sales team that I get to work with. That's so much fun for me.
Nice. Awesome.
I get to talk to people. I'm made more money. I know money is a weird conversation for people, but
for me, it doesn't need to be.
It doesn't need to be. I made more money in 2021 than I had ever even dreamed of making, simply because I was doing what I loved, what I was passionate about. I worked my butt off.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah.
I was meeting people. I was doing the hard things. Like, when you're an entrepreneur, you are the CEO. Yeah. You're the janitor. Mm-hmm. You're the social media.
Yep.
You're the creator. You're the assistant. Like, mm-hmm. you're all the things. Yep. And some of them I'm like, I don't want to do it.
Yeah.
But you do it.
Yeah.
Because you love it.
Yeah.
And you know, like, I can either hustle for a year, work my butt off for a year, and I can do this and really build a foundation, or I can work for 40 years, capped salary, doing something I'm not really in love with, but it's safe.
Yeah.
You know, like, I will hustle, I will work 12-hour days for a year to get to this. Yeah. You know, this like life that I have pictured for myself, where I'm working for myself, I'm traveling whenever I want, I'm making people laugh, and no one's going to tell me what I'm allowed to share on social media. Like, that's a big thing.
Yes.
I'm going to exercise. I'm going to eat healthy. And it, like, my job created the freedom for me to be able to play volleyball. And I am so grateful for it.
It's the most beautiful, it's not just a model. It's like what you are living that is the dream.
It's the freaking dream.
Because you know yourself. Yeah. And you had to come through all this fire.
Had to
know yourself this well. But the alignment that you found is at 30, like, I just love this stuff so much.
I do too. But it's like, also that's the thing, is like, I used to be like, I'm too old. No one wants me for experience. You know, like playing volleyball, I was like, I can't stop. I'm too old. Yeah. I have to keep playing because I don't have any work experience.
Isn't it's the like perspective that we put on ourselves? Like,
it's so tough.
It is, because it's not till you get to the next chapter that you're like, you look back and go, what? Like, no.
I'm only 30.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, you know, exactly. Like, okay, let's be a millionaire by 35. Yeah. You know,
there
like,
you go.
It's.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Well, that leads into my favorite question that I love to ask everybody that comes on the podcast is, what is the advice that you would give to your younger self? It's harder to change when you're winning. Yeah. That quote, man. Yes. Like, even thinking about, like, since we're on this water topic. Yeah. If I would have never been diagnosed with cancer, I would not have changed. I would not have changed anything. I probably would still be trying to play indoor volleyball, like destroying my body. Yeah. I would still be doing the same things health-wise. I wouldn't have had the complete consciousness shift that came with, like, I tell people on my you know, about the water detox is your whole life. I know it sounds absolutely crazy and it's hard to explain unless but it's hard to explain to people who are like, you know, they haven't experienced it. Yeah. But literally, I went through chemo and it killed everything. Like, it was like killed everything in my body, not just the cancer. Mm-hmm. It got rid of all the stuff, but it made, you know, space for all this new, like, life. Like, I don't know how else to explain it. And it was like the water just kind of came in there and changed everything. Like, my life changed. So if somebody else wants to do this, how do they find you? They can follow me on Instagram, Genuine Waters. Mm-hmm. I think my email's on there, but I prefer... We'll put it all in the show notes. Yeah, so. Show notes. Yeah. They can email me. They can text me if they want. Obviously, Instagram is, like, really fun. Like, that's where a lot of, like, the cool reels are and whatnot. But, yeah, I mean, I love answering questions. I tell people there's no obligations, just opportunities. Like, how bad do you want it is what it comes down to. Yeah. And whatever life that you have pictured for yourself is possible. It's just a matter of, like, doing the hard things sometimes and choosing you. I think that's the biggest thing, is like, I chose to invest in a machine. I chose to invest in myself, in my health, my learning, and my freedom in every way possible. Yeah, and all of those things you just listed, like, you will never regret. They're the scariest things to invest in. Scary. But you'll never, I just don't think we end up ever regretting them. I haven't yet. And you have your days where you're like, what am I doing? Or the down day, or the I don't feel like it day. But, like, overall, you just keep coming back. And that's the great thing when we were talking before about being an athlete. It's just that ability to keep coming back and just persevere. Resilience. Yeah. Determination. Yeah. So many words. Well, I cannot wait. I'm coming down tomorrow. What day is it? It's Wednesday. I can't wait to come watch you Friday in Manhattan.
I have no idea what the schedule is yet.
I know. I was wondering if the bracket was out yet.
I don't even think the bracket's out for the qualifier.
Oh, that's right. That's tomorrow. I forgot they're doing that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Really keeping people on their toes.
Okay. Well, you don't have to do a qualifier.
I know.
You're here.
I love it. A year later, and
so
here we are.
So cool.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for doing this with me today and coming on What I Meant to Say. And I can't wait for this to come out. I wish you the best of luck this weekend.
Thank you.
And I'm so glad we finally met in person.
Me too. And this was so much fun. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for listening to What I Meant to Say. If you enjoyed this conversation, you know what to do. Subscribe, rate, review. And for more great content, courses, and lifestyle, go to BeBetterMedia.tv.